I gotta say, I just got to pet a dog for the first time in 19 years. Okay, here we go. November 9th, 2011. I walked into my cell, stepped up on the toilet seat, put a rope around my neck, tied it to the locker, and stepped off. About an hour and a half later, I woke up on the floor. The rope had broken, which surprised me because I made it out of a bedsheet. A real good tensile strength, probably made 100 of those in the Marine Corps, but this one broke. About 2 weeks later, I was in a prison university research class. Someone handed me a document, and what it was a legal opinion in response to a lawsuit filed by a family of a veteran who committed suicide. In his response, he cited a cat suicide study which indicated that 18 veterans a day were committing suicide at the time. I went on to discover something I found incomprehensible, and that is that in the 14 years from the start of the Iraqi war to include the Afghanistan war, 6,855 American personnel were killed in action. In that same period of time, 73,000 veterans committed suicide. I ask you to understand that the relationship forged between men in combat is similar to that between a parent and a child. And for a veteran, there is no greater loss than that of a brother in combat. And the greatest lie you tell yourself is that you could have done something different to alter that outcome when you simply couldn't. And even while you saw them fall, they're never really gone. Because every night when you close your eyes, you see their faces in the shadows of your dreams, constant reminders of the family, of the brotherhood, of the camaraderie that you search for the rest of your life, but intuitively know you will never find. Now, friends and family, they try to bridge the gap, but it's pointless. And that's because serving with men that died by your side, sometimes in your arms, proving their worth to you, has rendered pre-war family and friends untrustworthy. The seeds of suicide are planted on the battlefield and remain dormant for the most part. Now your tour of duty's up, you're coming back home, and that's where they start to grow. From the second you arrive at those very same airports that our brothers and sisters from Vietnam arrived at and were greeted by people calling them names like baby killer, murderer, and war criminal. Now it's 45 years later, and this generation of veterans from the Gulf War, Iraq, and Afghanistan, and a dozen other places you've never even heard of are arriving home at those very same airports. This generation of veterans knows there's some truth to those insults. Many of the things that happen on the battlefield do not translate into being a hero. All you wanted to do was make it back, and now that you're back, you've never felt so alone. All you want to do is go back, and you can't, and you feel like you can't go forward. The easiest solution is to just drop the hammer, and that's what many do. Before you can return from the military, you have to complete boot camp out. To not have veterans complete it is the equivalent of bringing a 60-ton Abrams tank back from the war, painting it yellow, slapping some stickers on it, and calling it a school bus. Can you imagine? This big yellow Abrams tank cruising down the street, leaving a wake of torn up asphalt and crushed cars behind it. It's not trying to be destructive, but it's a tank. It's a weapon of war. When the veteran comes back, it's the same thing. For that tank to be a school bus, clearly some changes have to be made.